In the hidden ages of the Middle Ages, where flickering torches blurred the line between shadow and flame in castles and cottages alike, fashion was far more than decoration. It was a wordless code stitched into every fabric, revealing rank, faith, and danger. Step with us into this cinematic journey through time, where every robe and tunic hides mysteries as ancient as the misty woods of forgotten kingdoms. Within the whisper of silk and the heaviness of wool lies the unseen tale of a world where clothing could either elevate you to glory or seal your fate in silence. In the intricate weave of medieval society, clothing was a language all its own, stitched in fabric, shape, and detail. Layers defined the fashion of the age, each serving both purpose and propriety. Closest to the skin lay the chemise, a simple linen undergarment that drank the sweat of daily toil. Above it came the tunic or kirtle for women and the doublet for men, core pieces whose length and design quietly declared one's place in the world. The nobility draped themselves in sweeping gowns and sleeves that kissed the ground, a clear emblem of lives untouched by labor, while peasants kept their hems short, rising just above the knees, fit for trudging through the thick, churning mud of the fields. But the enigma of color in this stratified world was nothing short of mesmerizing. Far from the dull tones we often imagine, medieval garments shimmered with life, dyed through nature's palette and human craft. Even the poorest tried to wear some hint of color, for plain, undyed wool branded one as truly destitute. Reds drawn from madder root, blues from woad, greens born from layering yellow dyes, all turned simple cloth into declarations of self. In a world where a misplaced word could doom you, a flash of crimson on a sleeve could signal loyalty, while the deep solemnity of black might whisper humility before God. As we journey further into this world, picture the bustling medieval marketplace, a living symphony of sound and scent. Merchants from faraway lands unroll bolts of shimmering silk and fine linen, their colors gleaming beneath the sun. The air is heavy with the mingling aromas of spices, leather, and freshly dyed cloth, while deals are sealed in murmured exchanges. Here, the language of fashion begins to shift, shaped by the winding trade routes that thread across continents like lifelines. From the distant east, the Silk Road delivers fabrics so exquisite that even the devout find themselves teetering on the edge of vanity. Yet within this intricate web of fabric and form lies a profound mystery, clothing as a kind of social armor. In a world bound by divine hierarchy, garments did more than cover the body. They proclaimed one's ordained place in the grand order. A lord's fur-lined mantle spoke of privilege and command, while a maid's plain coif whispered obedience and restraint. Every stitch, every thread reinforced the invisible walls separating rank from rank. To dress beyond one's station was more than vanity. It was rebellion against the cosmos itself, a defiance that could summon retribution from both mortal law and the unseen hand of fate. The Middle Ages stretched across 1,000 years, from the collapse of Rome to the birth of the Renaissance, and with each century, fashion evolved like the turning of a great wheel. In the early days, loose, flowing tunics echoed the grace of antiquity, while the later centuries embraced precision and form as clothing began to contour the human shape, revealing the growing mastery of the tailor's craft. Men wore braids, loose undergarments rather than the trousers we know today, while hose clung tightly to their legs, fastened to snug doublets. Women layered their kirtles over soft linen shifts, their heads always covered, from modest wimples to delicate veils, symbols of virtue in a world ever vigilant of temptation and sin. In the quiet glow of a candlelit chamber, a lady delicately arranges her veil, its soft folds forming a fragile barrier between her and the world beyond. Elsewhere, by the flicker of a humble hearth, a peasant stitches his worn tunic, every patch speaking of endurance and unyielding will. In such moments, fashion transcends mere function. It becomes poetry in motion, a delicate balance between survival and longing, where each seam and hem carries within it a silent tale of human perseverance and grace. As torches waver in the gathering dusk, the true power of these garments comes alive. They were never mere coverings, but living canvases of culture, painted with the colors of faith, hierarchy, and craftsmanship. Within this woven language of fabric and form, the very soul of the medieval world is revealed, calling us to trace its secrets, thread by thread, through the silent stories left stitched in time. Rise now to the towering heights of power, where fabric itself becomes a throne. In the resplendent courts of medieval monarchs, clothing was far more than ornament. It was the visible seal of divine authority, a sacred rite stitched into silk and satin. Kings and queens draped themselves in coronation robes of rich crimson, trimmed with fur and laced with gold, every embroidered symbol proclaiming their dominion. Above them, the crown, adorned with rubies and emeralds, shimmered like fragments of the heavens, a radiant testament to their God-ordained rule over mortal realms. Imagine the weight of such regalia. The thick velvet mantle resting heavily upon royal shoulders, a tangible reminder of the immense weight of rule. These garments were never mere clothing. They were relics of reverence, crafted to command loyalty and evoke awe. Threads of gold traced the triumphs of forebears, while gemstones shimmered with silent tales of conquered realms and oaths sealed in blood. Each fold, each gleam, declared that power itself had been woven into the very fabric of kingship. Now set this grandeur against the life of the common folk, clad in coarse woolen tunics, uncolored or dyed in muted, earthen shades. Their garments, spun from the wool of local sheep, were rough to the touch and heavy with labor's heat, worn day after day in fields, workshops, and forges. No jewels glittered at their waists, only the simple weight of tools that earned their bread. Yet within this stark contrast lies the true enigma of the age, fashioned not merely as expression, but as division, a woven boundary that forever separated ruler from ruled, privilege from survival. The nobility wielded their clothing as a proclamation of divine right, their styles shifting with every conquest and crusade. Silks from the distant east and furs from the frozen north flowed together in their sumptuous wardrobes, each fabric a token of power reaching across the known world. Queens, too, mastered this art of silent dominion. Their gowns swept through courts like whispered intrigue, every pearl gleaming not merely as adornment, but as a calculated move in the endless game of thrones. In grand processions and lavish feasts, these woven symbols of power came alive, radiating splendor before the awestruck crowds. A king's surcoat, draped over gleaming armor and emblazoned with the proud marks of his lineage, transformed mere soldiers into living emblems of authority. Meanwhile, the humble serf, clothed in mud-spattered hose and coarse wool, could only watch in silence, their simple garments a quiet acknowledgment of their place within the vast, unyielding order of the realm. Yet, whispers of rebellion stirred, even in cloth. A merchant daring a noble's hue challenged the order, hinting at the fragility of power's fabric. Dive now into the forbidden spectrum of medieval color, a realm where every hue carried the weight of law and legend. In this age, colors were never chosen for beauty alone. They were potent symbols, woven with power and peril. Crimson blazed with authority and desire, its brilliance reserved for the noble and the bold. Purple, distilled from the scarce essence of sea snails, was sanctified, its royal depth deemed worthy only of emperors and the holy, a pigment so rare it seemed touched by the hand of God himself. Green murmured of love and renewal, a color of springtime and chance, favored by lovers daring to hope and hunters praying for fortune's favor. Black, far from the color of despair we see today, spoke of humility and solemn grace, its somber depth tied to monks, mourning, and the renunciation of worldly pride. White, meanwhile, embodied purity and devotion, its brilliance hard-won through endless washing and bleaching, a labor that mirrored the spiritual struggle for a stainless soul. These laws, forged in the twilight of the Middle Ages, sought to restrain the rising wealth of the bourgeoisie and preserve the nobility's untouchable splendor. Yet within their strict confines, defiance took root. Colors themselves became quiet acts of rebellion, threads of resistance woven into sleeves and hems, where a flash of forbidden dye could whisper what words dared not, that identity and pride could never be fully bound by decree. Unravel now the origins of these mysterious materials, their journeys etched across treacherous roads and restless seas. Silk, born in the shimmering looms of Byzantium, journeyed along the fabled Silk Roads, its lustrous threads carrying whispers of emperors and distant courts. Wool, sheared from the backs of English sheep, spoke of green pastures and tireless hands, while linen, spun from the humble flax fields, told of earth, water, and the quiet rhythm of toil. Each fabric was more than mere cloth. It was a fragment of geography, a testament to the landscapes and lives that shaped it. Dyes themselves were the alchemy of the age, crimson drawn from crushed cochineal insects, purple distilled from countless sea snails, and golden yellow coaxed from precious saffron threads. In the dye houses, the air was thick with heat and pungent fumes, a brutal symphony of labor. Urine served as a mordant to fix color, while animal blood deepened the reds. Steam rose from vats like ghostly incense, carrying the mingled scent of toil, decay, and creation, a sensory testament to the price of beauty in a world that bled for color. These ingredients, from plants to minerals, transformed humble threads into treasures, their secrets guarded by guilds. Behold the Church's guiding hand woven deep into the fabric of medieval fashion, its sermons shaping both cloth and conscience. Modesty and humility were its sacred threads. Monks and nuns draped in rough, undyed wool stood as living symbols of renunciation, their simplicity a quiet rebuke to the shimmering silks of kings and courtiers. Yet even within this realm of restraint, garments carried divine weight. Holy relics wrapped in sacred cloth were said to radiate miracles, and the robes of saints, worn, tattered, and preserved, became vessels of heavenly power, bridging the mortal and the divine through the sanctity of the weave. Stories of miraculous cloths abound, blending faith with fabric's mystery. Where the clang of steel met the art of style, warfare and wardrobe became one. A knight's armor was not merely protection. It was a spectacle of identity and pride. In grand tournaments, chivalry itself became a fashion show, as gleaming plate armor mirrored the elegant contours and trends of civilian dress. Over their metal shells, knights wore surcoats emblazoned with vivid heraldry, bold symbols of lineage and honor, transforming the brutality of battle into a theater of pageantry and prestige. Chivalry influenced designs, elegance in every etch. Descend now to the soil's embrace, where life was measured in harvests and hardship, and clothing served as armor against the elements. Peasants dressed for endurance, not display. Woolen tunics and linen shifts spun from the bounty of their own fields and flocks. Layered for warmth in winter and stripped back for toil in summer, their garments bore the marks of labor and longevity. Every patch, every frayed edge, was a quiet emblem of resilience, a testament to those who endured the world from the ground up. Creativity and poverty, handmade with care. Unveil now the sumptuary codes, the unseen sentinels of social order. These laws governed not just behavior, but the very fabric one could wear, drawing invisible lines between privilege and poverty. Watchmen and officials stood ready to punish excess, ensuring silk stayed on noble shoulders and coarse wool on common ones. Yet beneath this quiet tyranny, defiance stirred. A forbidden trim, a secret dye, a touch of velvet where none was allowed. Each act of adornment became a whisper of rebellion, a silent revolution stitched in thread and courage. Enforcement's mystery, defiance in threads. Enter the perilous realm of vanity, where beauty teetered between elegance and folly. Women's hennons rose like the spires of cathedrals, defying both gravity and reason, while men strutted in shoes so sharply pointed they curled like questions to the heavens. The pursuit of perfection drew its own poisons. Faces whitened with lead and vinegar, cheeks tinted with deadly concoctions whispered to hold mystical allure. These rituals of refinement blurred the line between devotion and delusion, turning the mirror into both altar and adversary. Reflect now on the threads that endure across centuries, the quiet echoes of the Middle Ages woven into the fabric of modern style. The cinched waist of a corset, the flowing grace of a cape, the structured elegance of layered garments, all carry whispers of medieval hands and hearts. Time may have reshaped the silhouettes, but the essence remains, a desire to express power, identity, and beauty through cloth. The past has never truly faded. It lingers still, stitched into our sleeves, reminding us that every garment tells a story first spun long ago. The past never dies. It is stitched into our sleeves.